The world is on fire right now. There are so many things that are completely out of our control, and it can make people feel really, really powerless. And this conversation that I have with a friend and colleague of mine by the name of Sonia is all about a really unique perspective that she has on how to reclaim your power. Little things that you can do every day to reinstate that feeling of agency and power within yourself. I think it's a fascinating perspective and something that is really useful to incorporate into your life. So check it out. Here we go. Let's start with, what do you focus on in your practice?
What do I focus on in my practice? I guess it's really empowering individuals to cultivate goals that are aligned with their vision for health and well-being or for their life. It's about helping people see where they are in alignment and helping them see the bravery and courage so that they can take the next steps to go towards what they want.
So there's this term that I learned recently that I really like, which is, it's called, the term is a bundled term. And it basically
Okay.
means something that has so many definitions, and it's so sort of vague in its definition that it doesn't mean anything. So, for example, I think discipline is a good example of this. Everyone and their mom talks about discipline, but no one
Yeah.
actually knows what it means. And I think that the word alignment is another one of those terms. And so I wonder, for you, when you're working with somebody, how do you, what does bringing someone into alignment look like?
So I think it's understanding that person's values, their perspective, and listening to their innate intelligence. So if for them that's their intuition, and using that as the place to move forward, right? So really not being distracted by the outside noises and just going in with their internal compass. Yeah,
I,
it's funny. I haven't really defined that, and yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
yeah, the fact that you haven't defined it, and that was your what's it called? Not improv, but your ad lib
Yeah.
definition, I think is amazing, because it's so, to speaking of the word alignment, it so aligns with how I view the work that we do, which is
Yes.
that it starts with understanding. You
Mhm.
have to understand. If you don't understand, you can't do anything. You're just walking
Yeah.
blind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
If I can go ahead.
go, no, 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 go.
Oh, just yeah, I always tell clients that like all of my questions are for me to understand you, and by understanding you better, you understand yourself better. And so that's so important, crucial.
100%, yeah. And I think that having that clarification at the beginning of your work really helps, because I know that for me, one of the things that I have to fight really hard against is people's shame, essentially. That
Yeah.
when you ask questions, so often,
Mhm.
especially when I'm first starting out with someone, people will try to give me the correct answer, the like gold star
Mhm.
answer. And
Mhm.
I'm like, that's not helpful to us at all, because it has
No.
nothing to do with what is actually true for you.
Yeah.
And so clarifying with them, all of my questions are just for me to truly understand you better. There's no judgment or shame or anything like that here.
Yeah.
And then the additional nugget of, and in me understanding you better, funny enough, you end up understanding yourself better, because a lot of
Yeah.
times we just don't think about this shit.
Yeah, yeah, and it's totally fine to say I don't know. There's no right or wrong answer, and I feel like most of us oftentimes think that there is a right answer, or like we, we can't be wrong. And it might be like society or in class in school, like if you didn't say something right, then it was frowned upon. But this place or this space, as I was reflecting for this right now, I was thinking about how do I explain the coaching space, and I was like, at least in my practice, it's a playground, and I really like that because it was like inviting, safe. So it's a place for you to play, explore, wonder, imagine, create. Like that's the kind of place where we want to engage with others, right? That like we're just here to see what's coming up, not to like discover something new, but just uncover what you already know that's within. You're the expert on yourself.
Everything that you talk about sparks like 5 other things that I want to talk about with you. I'm so excited.
Okay.
So the first is you talking about how school has a big influence on it. That was the first thing that came to mind for me, is that
Mm-hmm.
I think school teaches us that there's always supposed to be a correct answer, which is just
Yeah.
not how life works at all.
Mm-mm.
And there's a quote that I heard recently that I really like, which is school is preparing us for a world that no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so sad.
So sad.
And
It's hard.
yeah, because then you go out into the world, especially if you've, gone into lots of debt for college and everything. You go out into the world and you're like, okay, I got training for this, and then you're like, what the fuck? This is nothing
Yeah.
that I prepared for. This is
No.
awful.
No, it's like they gave you this knowledge and wisdom, and maybe not life wisdom, right? And said, go do something with it. And then you're like, but this puzzle piece that you gave me doesn't fit the puzzle piece in life and society. And I don't have these tools to like help shape the puzzle piece there.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you just got to figure it out. You're an adult now.
But how do I pay taxes? How do I get a driver's license? None of this was taught to me. So then.
And also all that emotion there too.
Yeah.
Or with when you're saying that, like I was hearing like, if they don't know how to get a driver's license, or there's like fear with like learning how to drive and all of those steps,
Right.
then we need to unpack or sit with that emotion.
Yeah. And so then enter coaching. And
Yeah.
you described it as a playground, which I actually think what it sparked in my mind as you were talking about wonder, imagine, create, is the name of your brand, as I understand it, is Into the Jungle Coaching, correct?
Flourish in the Jungle. Yeah. So I can give you a little bit of background with the name. So flourishing is all about, I guess a synonym would be thriving. So if we, take care of our health and well-being, so the 8 domains of health and wellness, so anything from your physical, occupational, spiritual, all those different realms, if we take care of that, we will be able to live a thriving life. And that thriving life can be anything you want it to be. I really like the jungle because, and even here, we could even think about like a jungle gym, right? Like you're creating your jungle gym, where we live in, a very diverse place like a jungle, but we still, just like every plant in the jungle, it still thrives. It's still able to receive nutrients and live in harmony with everything. And I think that's something that I would love everyone to be able to do.
Yeah. Again, lots of thoughts, tiny hole. Hold on one second.
You have the hard job right now.
I think it's just because so much of the things that you talk about and so much of the things that you focus on in your practice, I think that they touch so much. It's like a spider web, where when something lands on the web, it touches all the other threads and vibrates all the other threads, and so my brain just goes crazy with everything.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh, okay.
is it that life is the jungle and we're trying to include the harmony, or is it that
Mm-hmm.
we have divorced ourselves from the jungle entirely and we need to like get back in touch with the jungle?
Mm-hmm. I like those two different perspectives. I think it might be based on the individual. Maybe they need to have harmony, bring harmony to the jungle for themselves, or they need to return to the jungle. And then I'm not sure if you're saying for me personally, I think it's at least everything that I like learned growing up was that, you know, build career, build career, build career. And where I've been the past few years is build family. And so for me, I think it's going back to the jungle and being at peace with that, with the
Okay.
jungle.
Yeah. So I think what I'm getting from what you're describing is that the jungle really is sort of circling back to what we were talking about earlier, or what you were talking about earlier, of innate intelligence, the compass, the
Mm-hmm.
intuition. That's the jungle. And then so like you were saying, it depends on the person because some people are in touch with their jungle, but they fight against it. Like they know what they want, but then they're like, no, I shouldn't do that. I should
Mm-hmm.
get a job, even though what truly feels right for me is starting a family. And then some people don't even know that the jungle exists. Some people are just like, no, the only thing that exists is I'm supposed to get a job. What do you mean something other than that? I don't understand. Yeah, I'm miserable, but what do you? This is just how life is.
Yeah.
Is that, am I capturing that right? Does that feel true to you?
I think so. Yeah, I think those are good ways to see it. Yeah, I was wondering if there's anything more to add. I think the other thing, another perspective to look at it is like, let's say you're walking through the Amazon, and it's like you are taking those steps and you're witnessing the Amazon. It's like making sure that you're creating that space for you to be there in harmony or existing in a way that feels good to you. And yeah, and I think even the jungle for me is like life, your life experiences.
It's just sort of life in its totality. Everyone has their own individual jungle, and
Yeah, yeah.
we're all just trying to fucking get through it.
Hmm.
Okay, makes sense. And I remember in a conversation that we had a previous time, this was actually one of the things that I was thinking of talking to you about, was
Yeah.
you had mentioned something like, I can't remember exactly what you said, but something along the lines of, it's kind of my dream to help people with, I think you said chronic illness?
Hmm. Chronic conditions, yes.
Chronic conditions. How, what makes that your dream?
So oof, I've just had so much, or I've always had a strong passion for health and wellness. So when I think back to even my high school classes, my favorite class was the health class. And I got like an award saying like top student and something along the lines of have a good career in health. I can't remember exactly what it said, but I remember just being like, yep, this is me, this fits. Um, what I really loved was it was like education. And then I love that like application part. There's something that you can do to help yourself. You know, once you have education, you have the application part. And I just was like excited about that. And so then I think where I'm at now with going from nonprofits and helping with health equity and studying public health, I've come down to let's empower individuals, let's help them see that there is something that they can do. And I feel like with chronic conditions specifically, that diagnosis doesn't have to be so heavy, so burdensome. You don't have to be alone. You can have support and improve your quality of life. And maybe that's the part too that I want to add into this is that it's improving your quality of life, which really means maybe even on a subjective level that you feel like your life is getting better and it's something that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, it sort of circles back to what we were talking about school. That most of school is not there's not a whole lot of application to school. Like, in what contexts in day-to-day life are you using calculus? It just isn't a
I
thing.
always think about calculus.
But when
It's not a thing,
it's
yeah.
not a thing. But when it comes to health, when you took the health class, you were like, oh shit, you know, avocados have healthy fats. I can eat more
Mm-hmm.
avocados. That's something that I can actually apply to my life.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
They're delicious. Some guac,
Hell yeah.
delicious.
Hell yeah. I've told you before that the way that you do work, I really respect a lot and admire.
Thanks.
And so it restores my faith in the idea of systemic care a little bit, to know that you were doing work that actually felt impactful to you, that was on a more sort of systemic level. I think that's really amazing.
But I remember just being really disappointed that why does change have to happen at policy? Like, you know, these individuals, unless they meet with these community health workers, aren't going to get the care that they deserve and need. They're tax-paying citizens. And then I think for me it was that flip of a switch where it's like, you know what? And I also needed it for myself, is that we need to be advocates. We need to start from within and do what we can instead of focusing on what we can't control, which is that policy level, or change, right? That we can focus on what we can control and do what we can do on our for ourselves. And I think that that's just so empowering and such a great lens to see, instead of like feeling hopeless, that we can, you know, give ourselves this hope.
Yeah, yeah. I think that one of the things that I experience a lot when I work with people is that one of the reasons that they feel so stuck is because they feel powerless. They feel like no matter what action they take, it's not going to matter. It's not going to make any difference.
Yeah.
And so, circling back to you in that health class, seeing, oh, this is something that I can actually apply. This is something that I can actually do, and it's actually going to make a difference. And I remember in a different conversation that we had, you had mentioned that health is your health is the foundation of everything.
Health as well.
Health is wealth. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. And so
Mm-hmm.
it makes even more sense to me now with this context, that it's like, yeah, this is where I draw my power from, is when the world is on fire, everything's going to shit. I can still that is something within my locus of control. I can
Mm-hmm.
still take
Mm-hmm.
care of my
Mm-hmm.
health. And
Mm-hmm.
my experience working with people is that when we really when we're able to get the focus there, and they really
Mm-hmm.
start focusing on taking care of themselves, what inevitably ends up happening is that the area of effect starts to expand. That
Yep.
they start to influence, in taking care of themselves, they start to influence those around them, and the effect spreads, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It made me think one of my favorite quotes is "Be the change you want to see in the world" by Gandhi.
Totally.
And that's like just something I constantly think about. And even as coaches, right, that like if we're going to talk the talk, we also have to walk the walk. And so that's just like so powerful. And I think, it's just engaging too, because it's like, oh, okay, like join me, let's go together, let's be this change, and let's positively influence others around us too. And it's just through those small things that we can do consistently that matter.
Yeah, it is
However consistent looks like for you, it doesn't mean daily.
right. Totally, totally. That honestly, I think we could have a whole other episode just about consistency. Just before this, what was it that you were talking about?
I was reading my notes. Um,
Oh,
about
being the change you want to see in
consistency.
the
Oh,
world.
yes, be the change. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Being the change you want to see in the world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And walking the talk. I think that
Yeah.
that is something that I discovered when I first started coaching is that
Mm-hmm.
even though the relationship between a coach and a client is technically a one-way street, the focus is on them,
Mm-hmm.
we are trying to help them. Inevitably, clients end up helping us too because
Mm-hmm.
we learn from them. We have to practice what we preach. And so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, shoot, if I'm going to be telling my client to embrace vulnerability or take care of their health, I better be doing that shit too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a cool accountability, right? That's there. It's kind of built in for both of us. Yeah, and something else I think that we haven't talked about, but is presence, and that's what I just want to highlight that we've been doing here. Like there was no script; we were just talking and like following each other, and I love that just that moment right there where you're like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like we need more of that. Like we don't have to start talking about something else. We can come back, recenter ourselves, go back to where we were. And that is only happens if you're being mindful and being present. And yeah, I love that like we can just be here and not be anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that one of the dynamics that I love in coaching is the idea of modeling. That as we
Mm-hmm.
act in certain ways in coaching, like it being okay that we completely forget what the fuck we're talking about, or
Yeah,
take a second to think or whatever it is, that
yeah.
it gives the client permission to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
cool. Are there but before this feels like sort of a good, it feels like we're sort of coming to an ending of our
Yeah.
conversation. Are there any questions that you wanted to ask me or anything like that before we wrap up?
Ooh.
You don't have to, just if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
no, there probably is. How would you describe your coaching space?
I have two different answers. In terms of the space that I create, the two words that I would use to describe it would be safe and validating.
Mm,
And
it's
there's a
really comforting.
there's a slight distinction there for me because I think a lot of people when people talk about safe spaces, it is, from my perspective, what I would call toxic positivity, where it's like we only put on smiles, we never talk about things that are hard for us. And it's like, no, dude. Because for me personally, so I spent like 10 years as a streamer. And for me personally, it was always really hard entering into other communities because in my community,
Mm,
this could be egotistical of me, but from my perspective, my community was a real community in that we talked about stuff that was hard. If there was
oh, cool.
conflict, we worked it out.
Mm,
Whereas going into other communities, I always felt shut down. I always felt like I didn't know what the rules were, and there were all these things that I like wasn't allowed to talk about, and so I would just
mm,
be being myself, and then would feel swatted down by
mm.
the community, and it
Yeah.
actually made me feel less safe. And so I
Yeah,
think,
no, it's
go ahead.
super interesting. The first way that you described your space is safe and validating, and my answer was comforting. And then the way you described the other streamers place was that the feeling that I got was it's uncomfortable. It's not inviting.
Totally. Yeah. And so for me, when I talk about a safe space, it is a space that you are allowed to be 100% yourself. And
Yes.
it is, I attempt, I don't always do it, but I attempt to understand it and allow it to exist.
Hmm.
And then so that's the first answer. The second answer is that it is just in terms of how I approach the work. For me, the the sort of overarching framework that I've discovered that seems to encompass all of my work I call it END, which is emotional empowerment, narrative navigation, and Dharma design. Emotional empowerment is just that what I've learned from working with a lot of people is that we are just constantly invalidating ourselves. We're constantly saying, oh, I'm so stupid for feeling this way. I shouldn't feel this way, blah, 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 blah. And it just ruins our relationship with our emotions. And our emotions run us. Whether it's intentional or not, they're going to run us. And so you might as well form a good relationship with them. So that's emotional empowerment, which is usually sort of the first part, is getting you on the same page with your emotions. And then narrative navigation is identifying the narratives that have been written for you throughout your life and identifying the ones that are no longer serving you. It's like, oh, you have this code that says, I must be a horrible, I'm not, yeah, it's a great one. Yeah. I'm not enough. And so let's look at how that narrative was written and then look at what the alternatives might be. How else could we write that narrative? And then finally, the last one is Dharma design, which is essentially intentionally crafting your life in a way that is fulfilling for you. That rather than it being about, getting a job, it's about what actually matters to you in this example that we talked about, making a family. And how can you do that in the world that we live in? So I think that those are my two answers of how what my space looks like.
Yeah. No, it's nice because like I can feel that space too. Now hearing that from you, and like, yeah, it's inviting, it's warm, there's care there, care and concern, and then it's safety there too.
That's really kind. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, would you like to tell people where to find you, or any sort of plugging at the end of this that I'll probably like leave a link down in the description to a website.
Yeah, so I guess LinkedIn is a good place. So Sonia Wright on LinkedIn, and I'll share that link with you. And then I have my, I guess like the little professional summary, so you can read that. And then my website is there, and then my email too, so you can reach out. And happy to work with you. Yeah, here to support your goals however I can.
Cool. And what I will say, I've been fangirling for most of our conversation, and I'm gonna try to succinctly put why I fangirl so much over Sonia. So I talked about my approach, and I talked about earlier in the conversation, I talked about how so much of the things that Sonia focuses on and talks about align so deeply with my approach. And there is a particular kind of empowerment that I feel in the way that Sonia describes her work, where it's just badass. Like it's like someone, using the jungle analogy, it's like she has a machete in the jungle. Like it is
warrior.
She does an amazing job of balancing a sort of softness that I think a lot of people need in their life, while maintaining badassness. And the fusion of those two things, like a soft badass, is just, I don't know who wouldn't want to be a soft badass. And I really feel like, from the conversations that I've had with Sonia, impressions that I've got of Sonia, that she cultivates that in the people that she works with. That is sort of what she gives to the world. And so if being a soft badass sounds badass to you, I would highly encourage checking out Sonia's work.
Oh, thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate that. Not always a badass.
But even the fact that you can admit that you're not always a badass is so badass.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking when you were saying badass, I was kind of thinking of warrior, and it's like, hey, here I'm coming in with like tools and resources and like um bringing that, because we all have bravery and courage. We just need to bring it to the surface. So I think that's what it is. It's like bringing that to the surface. And yeah, I feel like I'm trying to do that here. But one last thought I wanted to say. What I also really like about what we're doing here too is that like both of us are being like genuine in our authentic different approaches, but giving each other the space. And I think that's also this part of like modeling, right? That like here I'm doing this one way, you're operating or doing it a different way, but we can both come to this place. This is the harmony. The harmony is happening right here.
Totally.
So that's really nice. And that's something I've always felt from you, Sean, was that it's always just warm, genuine, inviting. And I feel like there could be I've already felt that, right? That like to push, like let's keep going.
Yeah.
Encourage.
At this point, we could end up having a compliment off. Because I think I could go back and forth with you all day, but the way that I relate to what you said, of the way that I always describe it, is that there's like a source, whatever you want to call it. There's like compass, intuition, soul, consciousness, like whatever God, whatever you want to describe it as. I think it's all the same shit, and it doesn't really matter what you call it. But anyway, so there's like the source. And then there's all of these different paths that you can take to get to the source. And the thing that is cool and crazy to me is that you can literally get there through anything. Like you could get there through washing the dishes. But 99% of those 99.99% of those paths are not going to work for you. And only, I don't know if only one, but only a very select few will. And so finding alignment, finding what works for you, and following that path leads you to this place of harmony in your jungle. And I think that's really, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's about carving your path and what you're talking about to enlightenment.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's going to be unique and individual.
Carving. I'm like, yeah, we have to like find our path and walk down. And you're like, no, fuck that shit. We're going to carve that shit out with a machete. I love it.
Well, that's the whole like creating or like, being unique and figuring out your own path. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. And that's that bravery, right? Like it's so easy following a path, but unfortunately, or fortunately and unfortunately, however you want to look at it, we have to do that. We have to carve that path.
Right. It takes intention to do that. It doesn't just magically happen because there's too much noise outside of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for talking.
Where can they reach you?
Oh, I'll leave a link down in the description. Go to ostarcoaching.com, all that good stuff. I'm Ostara Coaching everywhere. So if you search Ostara Coaching, you will find a bunch of stuff from me. And
Ostara Coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And thanks for talking with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. And yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
Goodbye.